What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gino Thanks. And Albert J is back
What's happening,
as
peoples?
as promised, back on
I,
the weekly schedule. Wait, what's up?
like we might as well just keep going and do a podcast weekly. I mean, it already has been happening anyway, so hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Nah, man. So what's been happening? How you doing this week?
I've been all right. We did say that we were going to get into the debate. Did you watch it?
I did watch it, and I watched it twice. And I came away with a few things about that whole thing. I think I think I just think Biden is more of a unifier, even on a political sense. I I find it hard to really trust or take credence in anything that either one of them say. I feel like both of them were poking at each other's pasts and both at each other's records as far as people in power a lot. But I do think Biden had more of a plan moving forward and kind of illustrated that more than Trump did. And Trump. One thing that was that a lot of people didn't like, but objectively was true, is that a broke clock can be correct twice a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if Trump's motives weren't necessarily for racial justice or bettering of certain races, maybe even black people, he did objectively get a lot of people out of prison. Um, and then before um, the pandemic, our economy was looking pretty good. It didn't mean that there wasn't glaring social problems from racism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, and just outright racism and shit.
And that's the argument, is that that's all
right.
coming from the Democratic Party that's making people against each other. They're doing it in a way that seems like they're looking out for you, but really they're putting the idea in your head to make it a problem, kind of thing. I think that's the biggest argument.
Do you think that? Yeah, and I know that's the problem. I think that's a blatant turning a blind eye to the systemic oppression that happens in this country. I think that's all that is. It's not a mystery that most people who kind of share in these extremist, like, one-sided racial or just Christian value, tool bag type of people or whatever, which is a large, probably the majority of our country. They tend to swing towards a Republican person who might be able to help their pockets and all that stuff, but are willing to dismiss all of the phobias and the disrespect and craziness that goes along with it. It's just we've never seen a administration or time in history where everything was so divided. Like, I feel like Trump is not trying to unify people. He's just saying, if you're not with me, you're against me. And I think I've said it a few times on this podcast, we need somebody to unify us. And that's really it. Oh, did you watch the Joe Rogan and Kanye West?
I did watch that. I think Kanye is a genius still, to me.
Kanye is still a fucking genius. And now you watch that interview, right? And you know how, like, shit, how many views does that have right now? Like, it's got to have close to 10 million. Like,
I didn't even see the views, but you're right.
So like that kind of influence. If you listen to Kanye and what he's talking about, the one thing that I got from it more than I feel like any of, like, our politicians are, exhibiting, is just truth from, like, the heart type shit. Like, genuinely wanting people to be better at the expense of maybe even some of his comforts and stuff. He's an innovator. He wants things to be better and shit. And when you look at it, And you look at who our current president is and what he's been able to accomplish. This shit isn't so far fetched that Kanye West could be president or be a viable candidate in the next 4 years. I
You
wouldn't
know,
say this year.
you're able to write him in Maryland.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know about
No,
Florida. Can you in
no,
Florida?
no. Yes, you can. It's all over the ballots. You can definitely do that. Um, I'm just saying, like, I don't think. I still think. I think this is the seed that got planted, right? For people to really start to, consider him like an actual viable source. Bro, this shit has almost 5 million views in less than 24 hours.
So why didn't they do it? Like it's like
It's
less than 2 weeks
crazy.
away, right?
Yeah.
Now he should have came out with this interview like months ago at least.
I think he should have, man, but I think he also moves on his own accord, bro. Like I don't think anybody can really dismiss a lot of the spastic and crazy shit that Kanye has said that hasn't been correct. But he said a lot of spastic and crazy shit that's been correct. And that's why he's a genius. He's literally like heralded that way. Man, I was listening to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy today. Me and my son in the car. I was letting him hear it for the first time. We were going to get my other son. Bro, like that album came out, I think, January 1st, 2010. It was the number one rap album of the entire decade from 2010 to 2020, which meant that kind of started an entire sound, bro. Like the production, the sequencing.
Are you
like
saying that's your personal opinion, or is this like on Apple
no,
Music it was number one for the decade or something? Or
no, that
what are
was
you?
Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone.
Rolling Stone. Oh, I see.
Rolling Stone magazine.
I see.
Yeah, like it's. I'm not even bullshitting. That was they named that the best album of the decade, the best rap album of the decade, and it is subjectively. All the features on it, the production, everything that went into it. You could play the first 7 songs, and those you can hear the money in those songs. Those first 7 songs probably cost $5 million to make, with all the people on it and just the production and the instrumentation and everything. It was insane.
Is
Like
that the one with like all the lights on it?
yeah,
Yeah.
that one and
Even
yeah.
that song alone had like 30 people on it, right?
Bro, Elton John, Fergie, Alicia Keys, John Legend, Kid Cudi, Rihanna, Kanye was in there too.
That's just like a business move kind of thing because I feel like the label spends that money, right?
You
He's
would think
like,
so. You would think so, but like, then why wouldn't people do it for all artists? Why wouldn't a person have done that for like Tekashi or 6ix9ine or somebody like that?
that's the thing. No one co-signed him, and that's what he would say all the time until 50 did, and then there was that song he had with him.
Now, but what about you said it's a label move though? I don't care if you don't like me. If you give me, or if I don't like you, if you give me $100,000 to rap a verse for you, I'll probably do it. You know what I'm saying? Like if the labels pay me, it's not coming out of my pocket.
Because like they always say like they give people the labels give the artist a certain amount and they have to spend that money or they lose it.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Okay. I guess you might be right. I digress from all this shit.
Yeah.
To go back to the Kanye West and even catapult more off of that onto just the presidential debate in general. I feel like the long form interviews are needed for these candidates by a contemporary person. Joe Rogan is the most legendary podcaster I feel like of our time. He's got like 1,500 plus episodes.
Yeah, they say he invented it, right?
I mean, not like he invented the video podcast. I would say.
I see.
There was always like TED Talk radio and stuff, for like the last few decades and stuff.
Those are like different people talking. That's not.
For sure. But it's still that kind of long form talking format. It's not radio. It's not like music, but it's just it's like storytelling almost. And he's just been doing this shit for like 10 years. He's like one of the most influential people. He himself could influence an entire election by leaning one way or another. And that's the power of pop culture, the internet, and just things that are outside of politics nowadays that influence politics. Like you said something before just now where you said that like, Democrats are the ones who are perpetuating racism. I think all of them are. When a Democrat is very clearly using somebody like Cardi B to send their message and everything, somebody who has no political background but just speaks insane amounts of demands and everything that appeal to a much less knowledgeable mass of people, it's obviously some kind of a ploy and shit. It's a political ploy, and it's using race and ignorance to get certain people's attention for dumb shit. And I think when you have these long form interviews and everything, you actually get to hear people's plans, their thought process, or lack thereof in these long form interviews. I think you couldn't give one of those to Trump or to Biden objectively from somebody like Joe Rogan and them come out okay after that shit. Because so many hard questions would be asked and like, you know, not like just forgotten or rolled over. Like they would double down and ask these questions and stuff. And it would look bad if they like walked out on the
and
interview and shit. So they'd
and
have
and
to they'd have to do it.
honestly, that's also what I don't like. I forget exactly where it happened, but Joe Biden, he said something like he was being interviewed or something on the. I forget if it was the town hall or if it was one of the debates, but they asked him a question and he was like, "I don't want to answer that until after the election." That shit makes no
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah,
right?
that is
Like,
that's very odd. Like they're all politicians, man. They're all liars. And
yeah.
what we've been made like aware of is that you don't have to be a politician to win this election, man. And like I think this what appealed to a lot of people and what got Trump into office was, him doubling down on certain values and things that appealed to people. Like they appreciated him being an asshole and a businessman, and
It's
people
like
appreciated him being, you know, kind of racist and sexist and all that
because
stuff. Because
if you're an artist, you have to figure out who your demographic is. But if you're trying to be president, you got to figure out like just what the majority demographic is. So
right,
he's just taking advantage of that.
he's
You know
just
what I'm saying?
going to people and they're doing a checklist. Like you check off a few things, you'll get my vote. You know what I'm saying? It's not like who's actually going to do better for our country and stuff. And
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like what they're because we were talking about QAnon, how they're just like it's a conspiracy, just call everyone pedophiles and stuff, right?
sure,
That's the other side of it. Like either you're a racist or a pedophile is
right,
like those are the two
right,
options.
right. And I think a lot of people, and this is just my objective opinion, a lot of people have a lot of, time on the internet to do kind of mundane and weird research. And I don't really know that there's any credence to any of that stuff, man. Like I know that there are high profile people who are pedophiles and I hope they get caught. I don't think everybody is. I don't think everybody is a racist. And I don't want that narrative to just speak for, who people are and what they do for us or to us. Um, I just want the truth objectively, and I just want everybody to be, improving. And I say that just to circle around to Kanye West being a presidential nominee. Like I said, I wouldn't say this term. I think next term you're going to see an actual presidential nominee of Kanye West.
If he doesn't get Kardashian, too bad.
Man, why is it that all the guys get Kardashian, but
Exactly,
the Kardashians are still like business moguls and successful?
because they're stealing the life force of all their husbands and shit.
Yeah, they ain't
That's
like nah, man. I think the dudes who just be with the Kardashians are all be fucking up because they all end up cheating or doing some crazy shit and going on crack and or just leaving them and then they get the Kardashians continue to get successful and are worth billions of dollars. Like one has the kid of Travis Scott's baby, basically. the other one, and she's a billionaire and like 22 years old.
Exactly. What else does she have else to do? Like, of course she could have a kid. Like, what else is there? She already has.
Yeah, it's amazing. She did a nail thing and blew up because of it at
I don't
19.
know. I think she's the best Kardashian.
The Jenner, Kylie Jenner, basically.
Jenner, yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious. The best Kardashian isn't even a Kardashian. Um, but yeah, man. Overall, man, if I gotta say who won that debate, I think Biden won that whole debate. I think he just even on now that I'm starting to, do more of these podcasts with you, even though I'm starting to really question the motives and truths of a lot of our politicians in general, and if it does even make a difference, um, I would say Joe Biden was a bit more coherent and uh, gave out more of a plan and generally wants to unify people. He also said something really good that I've been saying for years and that I, also wanted to talk about for a second. He wanted to stop using people who are addicted to shit like alcohol or drugs and treating them like criminals. He said these people do not need to be in jail. They need to be in rehabilitation. We need to be rehabilitating these people instead of
All
punishing
right.
them for having
I have a question
addictions.
though. I have a question
Sure,
though. That doesn't sound. That sounds like he's yeah. He has he realizes that there's a problem, but I feel
sure.
like what that comes down to is what's the solution? They're just gonna take him to these rehabs and get them addicted to the little, the pills that are supposed to help them deal with it. Like people just get addicted to those instead. You know what I'm saying? And
Is
at the
that
end,
is that is that the only? I don't think that's the only method of rehabilitation. And I think what he was circling that came up in universal. They talk about universal health care, which he wants to like implement. He said he's not, and it tied into him restructuring the police force. He was like, I want to restructure this shit. I want to, take some of the weight off of the police officer and start enforcing social workers for people who need those types of services. I want to
yeah,
stop treating addicts and people who have these problems like criminals and get them the help they need so that we don't have to have repeat offenders and stuff. I
yeah.
want
I'm
to
not
stop
sure.
putting some. Go
I'm
ahead.
not sure if
Sorry.
Biden said it, but did he have the plan to like have a counselor, a therapist go along with the cop on every stop, or you know what I'm saying?
I haven't even heard about that plan. That's interesting as
I
fuck.
don't know. That's the thing. It might have been someone else just saying that and not him, but it sounded like a plan that they were suggesting like he should do.
More, I mean, he wants to change some stuff and make it more viable. What I like out of Biden is there's a recognition, like right, like you recognize that certain things, like people on pills or drugs and everything, is not okay to label them as criminal and stuff. And in order to stop them from having criminal behavior, you have to rehabilitate them instead of keeping them in a system that's just going to keep them coming back and keep them committing crime and keep them down. And he acknowledged that we've industrialized that system, and that needs to stop. We can put more money into resources that help us and rehabilitate us. Um, he also acknowledged that there was institutionalized racism and that we have never, as a country, lived out to the full promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and an even start for all individuals. And literally just straight up said that. And I thought those are the points that you need to make, not only to get the minority crowd and the colored people and the people who are feel like they're less than in the country, but to also put the pressure on people to actually look at the whole scope of things and perhaps join with that camaraderie. I don't know. It's a unifying statement. It's not a divisive one. You know, like whereas there is no acknowledgement on Trump's behalf of institutionalized racism, and it's not important enough for him to even address or to stay with it or to, it's weird.
Because he knows that it's gonna be the same no matter what. Of course, they're gonna say that they acknowledge it, but what have they actually done? He didn't
You're
he
right.
Did you watch the Breakfast Club interview with Kamala like a year ago?
Yeah, I did actually.
And she was like laughing about smoking weed and shit, right? And
Hmm.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. So it's like you can't really trust them either. And Trump knows he doesn't have
I
to
agree.
even. Trump knows he doesn't even have to mention that because it's like a situation is like it's already what it is. It's not for either of them. It's not going to change.
Right. I don't know, man. You might be right, and I don't think I actually don't think you're wrong. I off of basic, human communication and skill, I just think Biden was a much more unifying speaker. He didn't just lean into people who supported him.
He's a unifying speaker because he's manipulative. I feel like a lot of his when he would look into the camera,
You
he
might
was
be right.
playing on people's feelings, like, oh, think
Hmm.
about the person that should be at the dinner table tonight, like little shit like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah,
I don't like when people play with my emotions, so that automatically like rubs me the wrong way as soon as he like
sure,
is looking at the camera like that.
sure. It's a tactic, man. I think Trump would do the same thing. He just now he can't implement the crowd. I think that's why, I don't think it's something Trump wouldn't do. I think Trump needs a big roaring uh audience to kind of play into his bullshit and the things he says and everything to bounce the energy off of him onto the other candidates. That's how
You're
he won.
you're right, and I thought it was funny that this time because the mics were muted, he
Hmm.
decided to say something. I think he mentioned it on the first debate, but he said it again this time because he knew that he wouldn't get interrupted. But he said that Biden said that he called black people like super predators or something.
Yep.
That definitely wasn't true because I remember looking it up from the last debate. But I thought it was funny that he did that because he doesn't have the
You,
crowd, so he had to come up with
right.
something.
Right. I mean, the crime bill did implement the term super predator, right? It was the people it put restrictions and mandates on disproportionately just colored people and got them to pretty much be in jail and devastatingly diminish the male population of the black community like hardcore. And the actual term that they stood on was, for the crime bill was super predator. It was
Oh, so that was true.
no, that was an actual thing.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm saying
him.
he was trying to make it seem like Joe Biden decided to himself put those words in the bill. Was that really his words? You know what I'm saying?
Joe Biden co-wrote the bill. So yeah, like
Oh, so you could say that. Okay.
yeah, no, like Trump wasn't wrong for saying that.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
No, yeah, like both of these guys have such shoddy pasts and presence right now. Like you can get on Trump all you want to and all this shit, and he's doing a pretty horrible job at almost all things except for trying to make our economy uh, pretty good, which isn't going well right now. So he's not really doing that great. But Biden was in office for 8 years and under one of the best speakers and potentially one of the best liars of our generation. Like, and a lot of the stuff that he planned to, get done never got done, just like Trump did. And a lot of black people in particular are very critical of the Obama administration because of um, the lack of direct help from somebody who is shares in our background and ethnicity in this country and understands that there isn't an equal leg to stand on in a lot of communities. So a lot of people aren't so happy with that. And um,
Exactly. So how can people be happy with just a statement that Joe Biden made if they
I think
can't even be happy with that?
I think when you recognize that you're wrong, you should try and atone for it, and that's what he says he's trying to do. I think him saying, "I want to," if you got on drugs back in the '90s, you got caught with crack, which was a Schedule 3 felony or something like that, like of possession of like crack, just a little bit. If you got caught with that like more than two times, on the third time, you went to jail for life. You know what I'm saying? Like and where it was affecting people was in the black community. You know, you had these crack addicts and people who needed to sell it in order to, get by. And as a result of these kinds of penalties, instead of any kind of rehabilitation or preventative action in the first place in these communities, you just put them in jail. You literally jailed up people for trying to live and stuff. And these people were labeled super predators. And when you recognize that you're trying to rehabilitate these people and keep them out of jail, keep the cops off of them from profiling, stopping frisk, stopping the 3-strike rule, getting these people out of jail who are in the jail for possession of drugs and stuff, then it's a clear recognition that what you said and what you did before was wrong and that you're trying to do better for them. Would you agree or would you not, based off of that?
I mean, I would just feel like, I don't know. Obviously, the people that were working at that time are like the police chiefs. And this is all I was thinking about. I'm so sorry. I zoned out. I zoned out for a little bit. But what I was thinking.
I just did a huge hit. Now, basically, all I was saying was that Joe Biden more or less recognizes that the crime bill was wrong, that he was wrong for it, and by what he's trying to plan to do,
after they already planted the seed, like you said, of like what they want, and the same people that were just doing their jobs back in '94 are the police chiefs and sergeants that are training the people now. So how do you think they're going to train them?
You're not wrong at all, bro. I couldn't disprove that whatsoever.
You're right. That's just allegedly. That's just my theory. I'm just saying.
No, sure. I couldn't disprove that, but you're right. I couldn't disprove that. I think how you change that is policy, not just. You're not going to change people's minds, but if people are accountable for the way they think and act, I think you get change, and that comes with policy. You're not going to stop a cop from being racist if he wants to be racist. But I think if the penalty is so high for being racist or being caught with racist remarks in that position of power, quells it at its very core, or just punishes people who practice that type of shit, you wouldn't have a problem anymore.
True. But then, I don't know. You're right. But they're not. Neither one of them is going to do anything.
They're liars, bro.
Yeah, neither one of them is going to do anything. And that's the whole thing. I don't know. Because I just think about how, Kanye, he already came out and he said he was pretending to be friends with Trump, right?
Right.
That was to get, like, the people out of jail. And then back in the day, Trump himself said that if he were to run, he would decide to run on the Republican Party because they're all dumb or something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So obviously everyone is using the Republican Party. They don't necessarily agree with everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're just using that. I don't know. My point is like, obviously the Republicans have the power. I feel like, to me, that's how it seems.
I don't know. You're probably right, man. But like the more I talk to you, the more I start to realize they're just different sides of the same exact tree. They're rooted in the same shit, and I don't know that any one side of the majority of the people who are middle and lower class of this country benefits more than the other if either person is elected. I think it's just the rich people who get affected.
No, I mean, the way I see it, it's like, you're right. They are, like you said, parts of the. How did you say it? They're two parts of the same tree?
They're two sides of the same tree. They're opposite.
It's not like they're opposite. I wouldn't say they're like opposite sides of a tree. I feel like, I mean, if you want to kind of make it into like a tree metaphor, I would say the Democratic Party is like a branch of the Republican tree, and the point of that branch on the tree is just to divide the people into thinking that there's only the branch or the tree. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I think, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
That's their whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of the branch, is to make it seem like there's anything other than this tree.
But then I guess Kanye would run as an independent, which would make him an entirely different tree,
No,
right?
he wants he doesn't he wants to an independent would be another branch. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to be part of the tree, like the main tree.
Whoa, so you say you
That's
wanted to be a Republican?
wasn't he running on the Republican Party?
I don't know. I thought he said he was running on. He would be running.
Oh yeah,
As a
birthday party,
yeah.
which is more closely like tied to the Republican Party. Let's be real. Like that's what I'm saying. He has to
Word.
say that he's a Republican to be able to win anything. And also, side note, did you see Charlemagne's interview with Diddy?
I did not. I did not see any of that. I didn't even know that happened. That's amazing.
And I think you know, because since way back in the day, you remember what he used to say, "Vote or die." Like, what is that shit, right?
Right.
He's been talking about that for so long, and now all of a sudden in this interview, he's talking about what Kanye's talking about, like, oh, maybe we should start our own party, kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, so what? I feel the same way about him. Like that was all like in a way like propaganda back in the day, right? Trying to get people to vote.
He was trying to get people to vote for the first black president.
Was it just that? I thought it was before that.
I think it was the 2008 election.
That's when he really did the voter. I thought even back in like early 2000s he was doing that.
He might have did the 2000.
I thought he was always involved in.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can here. Let's look it up. Let me get my Jamie from the Joe Rogan podcast on.
Yeah, we can't look it up. But I'm just saying, like, you know, he's been involved with it for a long time. So how come now all of a sudden he's kind of like, to me, it seems like he's taking a page out of Kanye's book by saying that.
I don't know. I don't know. I think people have the ability to change. I think the climate is different than it was even 16 years ago when he probably did start. Yeah, it started in 2004, so it's been around for 16 years.
Yeah, so he was probably doing it like when Bush was president. He was trying to talk about that at the time.
Right. I think when you see Diddy wasn't even like 100 millionaire at that time, right? Diddy became a billionaire pretty much in the middle of the 2010s, between 2010 and 2020. And a lot of that due in part by selling Sean Chun as well as the Ciroc brand, I guess, vodka and shit. Nonetheless, I think his mindset is way different. I think when you become a billionaire, you become a self-made billionaire. In the cases of some of these people like Kanye West or Sean Combs, and I don't mean to say self-made as in nobody helped them, but from coming from very dismal means and then making something of yourself. That's a rare quality. And when you get that sense of power and achievement and you model your life around that, I think if you have compassion and you want betterment of people, you try to utilize that influence. I think Black people in general have not been utilizing their influence. And Kanye West said something really dope in that interview. America looks at Black people like a misogynistic man looks at a pretty woman. They like what they can get out of you. They like that you look good. They like that you're sexy and all that stuff. But a misogynistic man is not going to put you in the chair of something to lead anybody if you're a pretty woman, right? They're not going to put you in these meetings with the billionaires and put you on the chair that makes the decisions for other people and stuff. And that was true. So I think when Black people start to unify and start to, meld together their resources, our power starts to show. And we start to really, you can influence things when you have these resources and these people of power who are in these hundreds of millions of dollars, billionaires type stuff. Like, what was it last year? There was a Black billionaire. I forgot who it was and for why he was a billionaire. But he paid everybody's student debt off for the graduating class of 2018 at Morehouse College, just to give these kids an opportunity to sprout and go off into the shit without crippling student debt. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. When you do stuff like that and you start to realize your power, you do understand that even as a 17% population in this country, you hold a lot of weight in your influence, not only through culture and how you look or and all that shit, but through just financial literacy and ownership and being a leader, more or less. I think that's what these guys are leading on, as far as us getting out of a slave mentality and getting into we are, viable, powerful humans in our society, and we need to realize it, more or less. I think that's where that party decision is coming from, and I think you get a surprising amount of different races joining that party, aside from just black people.
Yeah, definitely. But that's what I'm saying. It's like the whole plan, and they talked about this way back too when Charlemagne did the interview with Kanye. He kind of asked him like if the idea was sort of to infiltrate the party kind of thing. Or I don't know if that's how they worded it in the interview, but that's what I got from it. And it's like that is what you need to do instead of trying to be like, oh well, it's either because I've heard people say like, oh, this election is more than just like it's good or versus evil. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's not even that deep. Like,
right?
It's evil versus evil, if anything.
100%. 100%. It's evil versus evil. I think Kanye might be doing some infiltration, man. I think he might just be trying to appeal to people to get into that position to really start to influence and get to the base of people that he wants to get to, which is, I feel like anybody who is in the lower class or middle class and anybody who grew up listening to him. You said it yourself. When you watched that interview, it just reinforced to you that Kanye West is a genius. He's 1000% self-centered and arrogant. Can't deny that whatsoever. Even as a proclaimed child of God and everything, he's 1000% that. But I think he's fueled, and very few people are fueled by this, and solely fueled by faith and his ideas only. Like, fuck what anybody can tell you what to do or tell you how to do stuff. You're just going to do it. And fuck any doubters about that shit. He said he wanted to do stuff, and he did.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like people would be more. I don't know if this is the right word, but they would be more apologetic toward Kanye saying inappropriate comments. But then as soon as Trump says something, like all of a sudden he's the worst person in the world just because he says something. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. But I do think people have to have a chance to atone and change. Everybody deserves that chance, and I think more so.
Wait, so continue.
No, I think Trump leans into his bullshit. He doesn't atone for it. I don't think Trump has ever said I'm sorry for anything he's ever said, or that he was wrong.
Anytime anyone says that, I think it's bullshit. And I was gonna go into Charlemagne because I did see. I wanted to mention this a couple weeks ago, but did you see the episode of Brilliant Idiots where he was talking about like, when he went viral? I think we kind of talked about it, but I forgot to mention it. But he went viral for some interview he did a year ago, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I've changed, blah blah blah." Like that's all bullshit, right? He didn't change. He's just saying that now to try to get away from that.
Who, Charlemagne?
Yeah.
I'm a real avid listener of Charlemagne, right?
So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think he had a case against him that got dismissed. I think just 2 years ago, right, where he was kind of quiet for a little bit.
I don't even know.
Yeah, he had a case against him, I think, very recently. Probably a year and a half ago, 2 years. He had a case against him, beat it in about a month.
And because of that, he had to clean up his image.
I think he started cleaning up his image back in 2016, objectively.
When he went, the video of him going viral is an interview from 2019 where he's asking Logic like who raped his sister and saying something about I don't know, something about gay
Oh
people.
yeah. No, like
And that interview
that
was from
was
2019. So what are you talking about?
no. He wasn't. First of all, he apologized for it. He was like, "Yo, I'm sorry about that. Like, I didn't mean to offend you, but in context, we were. That's what we were talking about." Logic got mad and said some shit like said like Charlamagne hurt my feelings and really offended me, and I had got so mad because talking about who raped my sister and all this stuff and everything. And in context, um, I think Logic was talking about if I ever caught that person who did that, I would kill them and everything. And then Charlamagne, it was like, did you know who did it? In that question, you know what I'm saying? In that context, it's not so like he was trying to be like offensive or anything. He was more so just asking the question based off of what was being said by Logic himself. I don't remember the song he was talking about it on. I think objectively, I think fucking Logic is corny and was pandering and has been pandering for a long time. If I can be real about that shit, I don't think that interview um, was anything super. I think Logic was being sensitive, and
And
Logic
and
has
Charlemagne doesn't like Logic either, and he said it like multiple
no, he doesn't
times.
like it. Yeah, like he said, he's but I don't like Logic can rap
I
his
mean,
ass off, right? His
yeah,
his his actual cadence, rhythm, flow, and everything is phenomenal. But he just doesn't really rap about shit or hasn't for a long time. And then he does like corny ass pandery fuck shit, like that. Eh. Like I hate that suicide prevention hotline shit. Like shut your dumb ass up. That was so whack. Like compared to all the other stuff he was doing and shit. But like no, I do think from what I can see and what I've literally listened to, right? Because I've been listening to the Breakfast Club since 2015 at the height of nasty fuck suck a fart out of your ass. Charlemagne said that shit to all like the women was nasty, like just horrible. I think what happened in 2016 is he cheated on his wife and his wife left him for a little bit, or who was soon to be his wife. Then in 2017, I was actually listening to Brilliant today, and he confirmed it for me from this week that he proposed to her in 2017. And I feel like that's when he started to stop cheating, that whole black man don't cheat shit, that protects your mental health. Um, that's when he started coming out with these books. Um, and I think when you have a concentrated effort to change, you should acknowledge that. I think Charlemagne was one got famous because of his antics and crazy shit, but I think he changed and he evolved into a actual good journalist who, you know, has good influence and I think
nah, I
you
think
can be
he's still
both.
saying that shit. You don't think he's saying that same stuff like when the cameras are off? You don't think he would be saying the same shit like that he
I
said
don't
back
know,
in
man.
2016?
I don't know. I don't
I
know
don't
for
think
sure.
people. I feel like people mostly for the most part, they. How old is he? Like by
He's like
third,
40, 41,
exactly.
42 or something.
After like 35, I don't think you're gonna change that much anymore. Like especially how fast did he change in 3 years? I don't think he changed that much in 3 years.
I mean, I don't know that. I mean, from what I've listened to, it seems like he has, man. It seems like, and even if it is just on air, if on
Because
air is
now
what if on air is where majority of the people hear you, and you can change your steez and how you approach shit now for that, I think that's still you still gotta acknowledge that. Like Howard Stern never changed. That motherfucker was nasty up until he got off of radio. Like he never like switched up how he was and everything and still maintained an audience. And Charlamagne should be credited for that, even if it is off air, that he's still getting his shit off.
I feel like
I'm sure his group text look nuts.
I'm just saying he's living vicariously through Andrew Schultz now. So as long as Andrew Schultz says the crazy stuff, he feels like he's saying it too.
That's pretty funny. That's
Yeah.
you're not super wrong. Andrew Schultz is my favorite comedian, and he gets away with it more because he's a literal comedian. So, but Andrew Schultz is amazing. And you might be
But
right. That's a good take.
exactly, I feel like I don't know. I just maybe I miss the old Charlemagne. I want to see the old Charlemagne and make a comeback.
You
And
want to? Why do you want to see the old Charlemagne make a comeback in this climate?
I feel like he used to just say exactly what everyone was thinking. Like
Yo.
he was one of the first people to tell Nicki Minaj that her music was trash when it was trash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I love that. And he'll still say that. He just won't say, Nicki Minaj, I'll suck a fart out your butt, but your music's trash. He just won't say that. He'll just say his music was trash.
Let me skip ahead. He's not gonna. I thought it was funny how the interview with Forrest Whitaker when he was like, "So what's up with the eye?" I think that's some good journalism right there. To me personally,
I think he would still do it, bro.
I don't think, no, he got like killed on social media. He got murdered. What's the word? He got I don't know. Destroyed. Canceled. He got destroyed in the comments for that comment. That's what I'm saying.
That's amazing. I love him for that. Nah, man. I don't think you're wrong as far as that level of honesty and bluntness. I do think that over the years, though, you realize that every action has a repercussion and stuff. And in order to fundamentally change, you got to not do that shit actively or concentrate on it. I think when you realize you have a wife and the climate that you're in is pretty crazy, it might spark a motivation to want to change some shit about yourself.
Wait, so what are you saying that he said that the wife really be mad at him saying he wants to suck a fart or something? Like, is that really what she was mad at?
No, like he was admittedly cheating on her a lot, like all the time. And he was also
he would talk about it
on Brilliant, or he talked about it afterwards.
Oh. No, yeah.
Right?
So what happened back in the day that made her mad? That made her mad.
She got cheated on one too many times, and she had enough.
So it wasn't anything that he did on the show. So why did he change how he acted on the show?
I think when you actually cheat on your wife, and it's not just for show, the things that you say on the show hold a lot more weight. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in alternate universe, Gay Joey, and I'm with you, right, and we're talking crazy shit over, I don't know, we're talking crazy shit over the airways and everything. I'm talking crazy shit over the airways, and then I cheat on you. The shit that I was talking on the airways now becomes the truth, and it's not just a fucking act or play anymore. It's literally the truth. Like, I think you have to change on all levels in order to. I don't know. I'm an optimist. I'm Team Charlemagne, man. I like that guy.
No, I mean I like him too. I mean I'm Team old Charlemagne. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like I had a point a second ago. What were you just saying? You said something, and I was
saying I don't know. Charlemagne I think you have to change on all levels. I think you have to, if you do cheat and you get caught and everything, your advances and flirtation and vulgarity with women no longer becomes just an act. It becomes more of a actual reality.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. I remember exactly what I was going to say now. And that's why I always say, this is a big quote, everyone knows I always say this, is truth behind every joke.
Yeah, there is truth behind every joke.
I don't know how you are so, because you said you were optimistic. That's why I'm such a pessimist about things, because people will joke about shit, and I'll be like, that's not really a joke. That's how you really feel. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but, I mean, judge people's intent also. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's meant to poke fun at you because they want you to laugh and everything, even in a joke, even if it's true, it's meant to lighten up something, if that makes any sense. I don't think people are out to get people. I think people's intent is a lot of times it's just to make a funny thing funny and to you know, it's up to us to determine whether we're accepting of that or not. But I don't
So
think people. What?
how come Charlemagne's wife couldn't just change and realize that they were just jokes? Maybe she was the one that needed to change. Maybe she was taking it too seriously.
Because she got cheated on.
But that's fine because
No,
that
it's not
happened.
fine.
That happens, but what you say on the show can be separate from that. So you should have let him continue to be old Charlemagne. You're making it seem like she made him change on the show, is what I'm saying. Like,
Oh no, no, no. I don't think she made him change. I think the threat of her leaving made him change.
that's
I think that.
basically the same thing. It's basically the same
Well,
thing.
he's literally said that. And he said, bro, I think you're allowed to have a change in how you feel after you cheat on your wife and you have another daughter by her. You have three daughters now. Like Charlamagne has three daughters, a wife. You can't be like, what does it look like to you, especially in this climate, to anybody who would be accepting of somebody being as misogynistic and nasty and molesty and outright rapey towards these women that he was interviewing and shit. Like, who would allow that to happen? Not the women in his life wouldn't allow it to happen, but also his fan base wouldn't allow that shit to happen. Like, I think you have to if you change at home or on the show, it probably will bleed over into each other naturally, just because of why it's happening in the first place. I think everybody has a chance to amend wrong shit. And he's always told people to hold him accountable for old tweets and shit he's said. Do you listen to Brilliant Idiots a lot? He talks about that shit a lot.
About holding him accountable.
Like past acting the way he was and how it's so
as now no one's going to talk about how he's acting now, so he wants people to talk about how he was acting before. That's all it is. If you really wanted to, if you really felt bad for what you did, you would just hope people wouldn't bring it up at all. So why are you encouraging people to bring it up to you? Like, just have people shut up about it, right? That's one of those things. It's that's one of those like manipulative like things that seem like it's a good thing, but it's really like, you know what I'm saying? There's an ulterior motive behind it.
Right. You could be right, man. I tend to look at Charlemagne as purely an entertainer.
Okay,
like,
so
I don't know him personally.
You know that I think Bad Girls Club like represents life basically. You know, like everything on there is like fake, right? And so I learned about like the different ways you can spin things, especially on a show like that. You need to spin things. Like everyone knows that show is really about fighting, but they had to spin it to make it seem like, oh, it's about getting the girls to grow up, right? And realize their mistakes and stuff, right? So you would think after you're done your season, you would have grown, right? But they had another like an all-star season where all the girls came back. And it's like, okay, well, they're supposed to be grown now, so they're not going to get into fights, right? But then one of the girls was like, oh, but, you know, fallbacks come with growth. So that was like her excuse to fight. And it's like,
that's hilarious.
You know, if Charlemagne were to get a divorce from his wife, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm just saying, if that were to happen, you don't think he would come out being the same old Charlemagne that he was? You know what I'm saying? He didn't really change.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what. First of all, I don't know what divorce does to people because I've never been married. I've been engaged, but I've never been married. So I don't know what losing that even looks like. He said he's been together with her for like 18 years.
You're right. I don't want to assume that that's exactly like what happened.
Right. I have no idea how I would feel if they left each other. Like that's a majority or a huge part of their lives they've been together. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, I don't know. Like you might be right though. Like I couldn't argue that. I'm going by what I guess I'm seeing a surface level with it is that there's recognition that there was something wrong. There's an active action in trying to change it, and I give people credit where it's due and where it's not. You see, I don't give motherfuckers like Tory Lanez the go ahead and and forgive him because he still hasn't like admitted that he was wrong. If Charlemagne like
Well,
doubled down on his shit,
he actually shot someone. Charlemagne was just talking shit. So that's the difference.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Charlemagne doesn't really need to change who he is. People wanted him to, and I feel like he did it because he felt pressure to.
I mean, yeah. If you get pressured to do something, you might feel like you want to change. You know, like I don't know, man. If you get pushed over the cliff by a squirrel or a car, you still get pushed over a cliff. It doesn't matter how it happened. You got to change somehow. You know, like I think the catalyst can be unrighteous all the time, but if you sustain that change, then it doesn't matter.
I mean, you're right. Well, the real test would be like if he does get a divorce, is he going to continue with that change or not? But I personally feel like most people would probably revert back to their old ways if something like that were to happen.
I mean, you never know, man. I hope I never have to experience that on my end, but if I do not want to be a whore again as I was.
I mean, I'm not even talking about the cheating part. I'm just talking specifically about being outspoken. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
How is she trying to silence him? That's what I'm saying. It seems like he's being silenced, and that's.
I don't know if he's. You're right. You might be right, man. If that's the case, then I hope the best. I wish the best for him. I hope he gets unsilenced. Maybe he's silencing himself and toning it down because there's money at play. Maybe he's getting a lot of money in sponsorship and you know running that Black podcast network and stuff. Maybe he doesn't have to. He can be more in the just chill mode and not trying to actually create memorable content and moments and stuff. He can just live off of what he's already done.
And that's where I go. I remember also like what Joe Budden was saying. So like he really doesn't. He says it's his network, but it's really not because he has to consider what other people might or might not want him to say. So is it really his network?
That's true. That's true. I mean, I don't know, man. Like you could be right. I hope nothing but the best for him. I hope he's successful, and I hope he fucking it isn't just a fad or some kind of a political or social ploy to capitalize and maintain popularity or power. Hope he is changing, because at least he's putting on that persona that he is and shit. So, but yeah, shout out to Charlemagne.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna go watch that interview with him and Puffy.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good interview.
But yeah, man, I'm about to go make some goddamn wings because I just smoked a lot of weed, and my kids are hungry.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good.
Hell yeah.
Let me know when your guest is available though, because I'm really trying to get into all that other shit too that we were talking about.
Definitely. Next time we get on this, me, you, and my guy Trevor Skeet. He's a producer, a rapper, and a very, very interesting guy and has some dope perspective or just some really, really compelling perspective on a lot of our political, social, and just regular climate. I think it'll be an interesting talk. And he'll say a lot of things to provoke a lot of good conversation.
All right. Well, I'm excited for that. And I can't wait till next week.
Hell yeah, man. And next week we're gonna do we'll talk about that shit off air.
All right, got you. All right, see you guys.